Hello. Hello, April. Hello, Mike. How you guys doing?
What's
Good.
up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Welcome to the show, everybody. April, CEO of Spring Health, is going to be on the show today. Mike is our presenting partner, so we're going to give Mike the platform here to speak about the Entre networking group, the app that he just released, and everything that's going on at joinentre.com. So, Mike, over to you, please.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, I'm excited for another edition of Leaders Live. If you guys are tuning in on our social accounts, please drop some comments and ask questions throughout the show. We're going to do a Q&A at the end. If you're on our website watching, make sure there should be a chat at the bottom right-hand corner. That's going to go right to my phone. If you guys have questions on there, if you're on YouTube or Twitter, whatever else, you can just leave a comment. And then there's probably also going to be a lot of people watching on Charlie's LinkedIn, so you can leave questions and comments on there too. If you guys haven't checked out our events before or don't know what Entre is, we're a social network for entrepreneurs and the future of work. So freelancers, startups, really anyone who wants to kind of do their own thing rather than get a corporate business, job, career, all of that. We're very much in a stage right now where we believe strongly that the future is entrepreneurship, the future is freelancing, and we want to build a network to connect all of these people. So we just rolled out our app. We're slowly onboarding some of our existing network. If you want to get early access to that, just go to our website, joinentre.com. And yeah, I'm gonna kick it back over to Charlie. I'll be on here. I'll be paying attention on social. So if you guys have questions and stuff for me, just let me know, and I'm more than happy to answer those at the end too. But looks like we have some people, Thomas, David, who are watching on YouTube. Thanks for coming in, guys. And definitely let us know, like, questions, anything you want to cover. April is an amazing CEO. I'm super pumped about this. Charlie's obviously the man for hosting and interviewing. So I'm pumped for this interview. I'll let you guys take it from here. Thank you so much. And, let me know if there's anything that we can do to help you guys who are starting companies.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
April back. All right, April, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a good time to talk about Spring Health with everything going on. Everybody's at home. It's a tough time for everybody, but especially with the mental health care system and trying to help people out. And I think it's definitely important what you're doing is eliminating the barrier to all mental health care. So let's talk about a little bit what you're doing at Spring Health. Let's just jump into that first, and then we could kind of weave in and out and talk about past experiences. But let's talk about what you're doing at Spring Health right now and the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give a quick elevator pitch on the company, and then I'd love to share my story because stories are interesting. So Spring Health is a comprehensive mental health solution for employers. We are the single front door to all things related to emotional well-being. So every employee is very different. Every employee has their own unique mental health journey, and we use proprietary precision mental health care algorithms to understand what your employee is dealing with specifically and what care specifically would work for them. So we know that therapy isn't for everyone. We know exercise may not be the right answer for someone's mental health issues. We know that meditation isn't for everyone. So we really try to pinpoint, what are you dealing with? And based on what you're dealing with, what is the best solution for you? And then we deliver that through our solution. We're fortunate enough to work with some of the largest employers in the US today. So we work with folks like Pfizer, Cisco, Gap, Whole Foods, MongoDB here in New York, and a bunch of tech companies over in California. We serve a variety of different industries. We even serve real estate. We have a client called Related. We've raised 30 million up to this point, and we're based in New York. And my story is a little bit unique. I started the company after starting another company and dropping out of school to start that one. I left school for a few years to start an e-commerce company with some Yalees, and we were over in LA and San Francisco for a few years, and I went back to school. I had 1 year left, and I wanted to do something that changed the world and left a positive impact on the world. And the only thing that I cared that much about was fixing mental health care. I've dealt with my own personal issues, so I know how broken the system is. My best friend was hospitalized in 2012 for her eating disorder, and I watched her go through 4 different providers and 7 different antidepressants. And that left me feeling like there was just so much random guessing in mental health care. And I wanted to build something that eliminated guessing from mental health care and helped us go from what might work to what will work.
Right. It's definitely working, and you're definitely growing the business well. So it's something that needs to be there, and you're doing a great job of it. Let's bring it back then. Let's bring it back to where you started. I mean, jumping out of school, you co-founded Spylight, and then and then you ended up moving in, and you kind of gave us a little bit. You touched on that story of starting the business, but through that process and early business, can you talk about maybe some of the mentors that you worked with and some of the the growth that you had to kind of get to this process, and what you learned that you take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many mentors along the way. I've depended so much on mentors through my journey because I started my companies as a very young person without much experience under my belt. So I've been very intentional about building my network of mentors and surrounding myself with really sound, experienced advice. I guess, early on, the mentorship came from, different incubators and accelerators that we were part of. And actually, Yale turned out to be a great resource. I founded Spring Health in my dorm room with Adam, my co-founder. And we would talk to professors at the business school and folks involved in entrepreneurship at Yale. Actually, Yale connected me to one of my first investors, Kevin Ryan, and he's been an incredible mentor and advisor to us ever since. And throughout the journey, what I've done is I've read a lot of books and reached out kind of cold to the authors of these books and convinced them to talk to me, and that's kind of been my strategy in building my network.
I like that. I mean, we might as well stick with the network aspect of it. The being intentional stands out. I mean, that's a great way to look at it because, you probably don't want just a large, huge network of people who aren't going to help you, but you've pinpointed the specific people that are going to help grow your business and you want to work with. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on how you built that network and put the puzzle pieces into the right places?
Yeah. So I think early on, I had no shame about reaching out to people on LinkedIn and asking people for intros to people that I wanted to meet. I would literally no shame. I would ask anyone and everyone, and people are willing to help. And so I got a lot of advisors that way. Later on, our investors really helped us a lot. So Workbench is one of our incredible investors, and they hold specific workshops around key topics that might be relevant to founders in enterprise sales. And so they would usually bring in subject matter experts and really experienced folks in marketing and demand gen and in sales. And then after those sessions, I would just follow up with those folks and keep in touch. And they've been incredible resources for us ever since.
Yeah, and continuing to grow your network and to grow your business. I mean, we could talk about the collaborations aspect of this, right? Because Spring Health is looking for employers to get on the platform, on the network. But talk about some of the people that you're looking to collaborate with Spring Health and the business and the opportunities that are coming available in the future. Because think about it this way: we do this on LinkedIn and we try to communicate your story to everybody on whatever platform there is, because we're trying to get partnerships for you and opportunities for you. Yeah. So any opportunities that you're looking for to help grow the business, hopefully someone listens to that and then can reach out afterwards. So go ahead and tell us, kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So coronavirus is really helping the business, as weird as that is to say. We're one of the lucky few that are in an industry that is growing because of coronavirus, right? Mental health and telemedicine are top of mind for a lot of organizations and HR departments and employers today. So as a result, we're hiring and we're growing the team pretty aggressively. We raised our last round in January, and we've been kind of scaling the company very aggressively since then, and we still are. So we're looking for key executives in marketing and in finance, in sales, and in product. We're really growing the team in every function. So I would say one thing is, if you want to help, if you know any talented people who care deeply about mental health care and who share our mission of eliminating every barrier to mental health, please feel free to introduce us. The second piece that I wanted to share was a lot of employers are reaching out to Spring Health, especially these days. They're looking for quick, easy ways to enhance their mental health support for employees. And so if you know an organization or are part of an organization that is looking to invest in employee mental health, please feel free to reach out.
Right. And who are you typically talking to? Is it the HR professionals at those companies that, so?
Yeah, absolutely. So C-suite, I think it's really powerful to have C-suite members on board with our mission and on board with the idea that they need to better support the mental health of their employees. So C-suite connections are always very powerful, but also benefits and HR. That's where those functions and those roles by Spring Health ultimately. So anyone in benefits and compensation, anyone in HR, anyone in people ops.
Yeah. And let's talk about what's so special about Spring Health. I mean, when I read about it, it's the technology, it's the AI, the telemedicine aspect of it. I mean, you're bringing all this in, and then you're you're kind of outperforming traditional healthcare as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So shed some light on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak to it in so many different ways. One thing that I did want to mention is that there's so much focus now on telemedicine. And we have competitors that treated telemedicine as an afterthought. Like they started brick and mortar, and then they kind of like tacked on virtual because it helped them scale, it helped with their unit economics. But we, from day one, have always believed that the future of mental health care is virtual. And so our infrastructure is optimized for virtual. So it's actually, it kind of feels like Spring Health was really built to step up to this opportunity to help people through coronavirus. The other way that we're special is that we use something called precision mental health care. So I met Adam at Yale, actually. He was finishing up his PhD and I was finishing up my undergrad. And I looked through Yale psychiatry papers that were coming out because I wanted to understand what was the latest and greatest in psychiatry coming out of Yale's labs. And I came across one of his first papers on computational psychiatry. And it was describing one of the first machine learning models proven to outperform the average psychiatrist in being able to predict whether a treatment would work for someone. And I fell in love with that approach and cold emailed him and somehow convinced him to grab coffee with me and eventually start a company with me. And, I tell that story because it really shows the foundation of what we're trying to build. We're trying to use data to transform psychiatry. We're trying to build a world where guessing has no place in mental health care. We're trying to build a world where instead of people trying 4 different providers and 7 different drugs to find something randomly that works, they can take our assessment and know from the start exactly what will work for them, whether that's a specific medication or a specific exercise or meditation or mindfulness.
And you're located in New York right now, but I mean, it's all over the country, internationally as well, or like what's, you just got what I'm trying to understand is I know you just got a bunch of funding right before the coronavirus hit, which is good timing. Where are you looking to expand the business and the network outside of New York or whatever it may be, and what other areas?
Yeah, so I'm really proud to say that we're available in all 50 states, like full capabilities in all 50 states. And we're also global too. So a lot of our customers are or have global footprints. And so we accommodate that by delivering some of our services overseas. You say, the timing was great for our fundraise, but it's really interesting. I think now is a really great time to fundraise.
Probably putting on more, right?
Like VCs, I think are really starting to double down on trends that are benefiting from coronavirus, and mental health is definitely one of them. So we definitely timed our fundraise right. Like we didn't have to worry at all, but I think even now might be a better time to fundraise for.
Well, let's stick with fundraising. Let's talk about fundraising. You had your first round back in 2018, and then right on the mark, 18 months later, you timed it up and you got another raise. How do you look at it as a CEO raising capital? We are partners with Mike and Entre Group, who have a bunch of startup entrepreneurs through their network, and they're always looking for tips and tricks on fundraising, approaching investors, venture capital funds. How did you look at fundraising? What did you learn through the process that you could share with everybody?
That's such a good question. I think always project a big vision and kind of work backwards from there. And so, we have a huge mission and a huge vision, which is to raise the bar in mental health care broadly. And, when we were telling our pitch, the future of mental health care was just so clear to us. We understood that, data would transform mental health care. We understood that mental health care would fundamentally look very different 5-10 years from now than it does today. Right now, providers are limited to trial and error and guessing when it comes to care. But in 5-10 years, they're going to use data, machine learning to pinpoint exactly what will work for someone from the start. And as a result, people's suffering will go away. Care will become less expensive because people will not be wasting cycles on ineffective care. So start with the big vision. I would say also, what are some good fundraising tactics? I actually didn't think that, if investors proactively outreach to you through like their, what is it called? Their like principals or their, not analysts, who's the associates, right? Mm-hmm. That I always thought that was a bad sign and that you shouldn't respond to those inquiries. But actually, a lot of the times the analysts have like a thesis on mental health or on whatever you're raising money for. And they're very, systematically reaching out to select founders, and they can make introductions into partnerships. And that's actually how we raised our last round anyway. So don't ignore the principals or the associates.
Right. Did you look at, I guess, a select group of venture capital funds that are in your section, or like how did you kind of pinpoint or target the right investors, and then maybe even vet the investors too? Yeah.
So I've always been very careful about board composition and the investors that I wanted to surround myself with. I think that these are marriages. They're even harder to get out of than marriages, I would say. And I think that boards can have an interesting and inordinate impact on the direction of a company. And so I wanted to make sure that my board and my investors were really aligned with what we were trying to do. And I wanted to make sure that our board was in it for the long term and that they saw the same vision that we did. So we did make a short list of investors that we wanted to go after. And ultimately we decided to work with PJ, who is a Midas list investor. And he was one of the first investors in Spotify. And we really saw an opportunity for us to collaborate in building a really amazing product experience in mental health care for Spring Health, much like he did with Spotify. And we also saw an incredible opportunity with Northstone to fuel our efforts to go global.
That's some serious good tips there. Hey, now you have the funding, you're ramping up hiring. We always like to talk a little bit about the company culture and the hiring process. I think they kind of go hand in hand. How do you look at that? How do you hire, and like, what is the company culture that you have at Spring Health?
Yeah. I mean, culture is so important to us. We are a company that delivers a mental health solution for employers, for employees. So workplace mental health is just core to what we do and who we are. And so we're very mindful of the culture that we're trying to build. And first and foremost, we have to practice what we preach. And so we want to make sure that we're building a mentally healthy workplace. And it doesn't necessarily just mean like chill, fun, games all the time. It means a powerfully fulfilling workplace where people feel fulfilled by the work, people feel energized by the work, people feel connected to the work and engaged. We have 5 different values that we start every all hands and town halls with. The first one is patients come first. So every single employee at Spring Health is extraordinarily mission driven. It's a prerequisite for us. If you want to join the company, you have to care about the mission. And if you don't care about the mission, you'll probably leave soon anyway, because it'll probably irk you just how much people care. The second value is evidence serves the patient. So we've always had a very scientifically rigorous bent to us. My co-founder, Adam, is one of the leading scientists in computational psychiatry. And for us, evidence and science have always been key. And so we're always talking about, what evidence can we point to make this product change or to change this operational workflow? The third value that we have is move fast. Fourth is decide. And the fifth is be open and honest. And I think all 3 of those values really reflect how we work at Spring.
I'm on mute. Sorry. I'm taking notes over here. Very good stuff. I mean, it's actually most impressive. You remembered all the values. I mean, I want to put you on the spot there. That's
the values are important. Yeah, no, I think I would get in such big trouble if the CEO didn't remember the values.
Yeah, I'd say so. I didn't want to put you on the spot. That's good. I just want to also mention that we're taking questions, so definitely submit them. We see a few coming in, and we'll have Mike answer them in just a little bit. But regarding the fundraising too, I saw that you had a good amount of female investors, at least for your first raise. I mean, what was the strategy in that, looking at female VCs, and I'm sure very helpful.
Yeah, I've benefited from, strong women who believed in me as a strong female leader, and not in this most recent round, but in the seed P, as we called it, we actually had an exclusively female-led round, which was really, really cool. And it was intentional because I wanted investors who believed in me as a female leader of the company. And it's been really cool to have surrounded myself with really, really strong female former executives and investors, and they're so supportive. And so it's been really great.
And you obviously showed the patients and the evidence that that Spring Health is working and it's continuing to work. Mike, do you have any? I think Mike stepped away for a little bit, but there's a few questions. Mike's jumping in. Mike, did you have any questions for April as we go forward with this?
Yeah. No, I think I love this topic. We're actually doing a health and wellness event coming up here in June. So I'd love to get maybe you or your co-founder involved with that event too. I think it's a huge topic. It's something that we've talked about at our events and stuff before. With what we're building with this community and network for entrepreneurs, I think hopefully that can help entrepreneurs a lot with mental health, because it's taxing, right? When you're starting a company, it can be very lonely. You have a million thoughts going on in your head. And I think entrepreneurs and people kind of trying to, be rebels or go against the grain, they struggle with this as well, big time. So I really appreciate and love what you're doing. I think it's extremely important. I think, it's becoming a huge issue, and I think people need to talk about it more. So I love that you're bringing it, it's becoming more and more mainstream now, which is both like good and bad. Like, obviously we don't want it to be mainstream, but the fact that people are really suffering from this, that we need to talk about it and we need to figure out solutions for this. So
yeah,
it looks like we have a few questions here, one of which came through our site. She was asking about, you guys are hiring, right? Like what are the people who you're looking for to kind of join your team? Someone reached out to us. They have like 35 years of experience in like the health and wellness industry in like marketing and stuff like that. But what are kind of any roles, or what are you looking for right now from a hiring perspective?
Well, as I mentioned, we really care that our team members care deeply about the mission. We care about someone who's aligned with our 5 values. So they not only need to believe in our mission, but also they need to be open and honest. They need to move fast. They need to just make decisions quickly, and believe that what we're doing from a science and evidence standpoint stands out and is unique. So we're looking for that. We're looking specifically to hire in our marketing department. And so, I would say that's where we're most heavily hiring right now.
Okay, great. We have another thing here from Alexandra from LinkedIn. How does Spring Health plan on combating the fear that employees may have? Let me pull this up on the screen. It's pretty long. The fear that employees may have been seeking mental health insurance through their employers due to the historical stigma surrounding this subject matter. So it looks like now that, I guess you could probably answer this better on from your company's perspective, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first and foremost, I am really optimistic about the stigma slowly starting to go away around mental health issues. We as a society have turned a corner, and coronavirus is really accelerating the end to the stigma around mental health, in my opinion. People are talking about mental health issues way more. People even open up on LinkedIn. So I'm really optimistic about it. There are a few ways that we combat this fear of being stigmatized. The first is that we really encourage our customers to use Spring Health or use the purchase of Spring Health to start the conversation around mental health in their workplace. And the best way to do that is to engage your leaders at the company. So there's nothing more powerful than having your CEO stand up at a town hall and share their story, share their family member's story, and talk about how mental health has impacted them. And there's nothing more powerful than having that leader show the rest of the company that it's okay to not only to experience these issues, but B, also to open them up about these issues. And so that's one thing that we do a lot with companies. The second thing that is really important to note is that we're 100% confidential. So none of the data that you share with Spring Health, even the fact that you signed up, ever goes back to the employer. It is 100% confidential. It's 100% HIPAA compliant. We uphold the highest security standards there are. And we only report numbers back to the employer in aggregate. So the employer never knows if you signed up, and we'd never share that information with them.
It seems like you have a nice dashboard too on the on your website. It shows kind of interacting with the employees that have Spring Health. So this is
absolutely. I can speak to the dashboard, which is actually one of the most valuable things I think about Spring Health. Okay. I posted recently on LinkedIn that a lot of employers don't think that they have real mental health issues in their company. And a lot of employers are shocked when we show them their employee mental health dashboard. And they're so shocked to see that it's not just mild stress or depression or anxiety that their employees deal with. It's eating disorders, it's ADHD, it's PTSD, it's substance abuse disorder, it's suicidal ideation. And we break down these conditions for the employers one by one so they can really see how their organization is doing from a mental health perspective. And this really opens up their eyes to the fact that these are invisible diseases. A lot of people don't talk about their issues, but they're there and they're very real.
Yeah, for sure. We have another question here. So it looks like someone is more curious on your interest in the mental health space. I know you touched on it briefly about your personal struggles and then your friends and whatnot.
Yeah.
It looks like maybe you can get into some of the research by Adam, and how you came across it. But I think it's definitely important to hear more about, if you want to go deeper into your origin story or your personal story, which I think it'd be great.
Well, I think it's really important to know that I had my own struggles, but I was so blessed and lucky to not have had it that bad. My best friend's story, though, is the one that really inspired me to solve this specific problem of trial and error in psychiatry. So I was sharing a little bit about the story, but in 2012, my best friend was hospitalized for her eating disorder. This came after months and months of her, being in denial that she had any problem at all. And it also came after months and months of her unsuccessfully trying to receive care. So she went through, as I mentioned, 4 different providers and 7 different antidepressants. And I roomed with her at the time. So I got to see, secondhand, very, very closely, the struggle that she was going through. And her experience just led me to think that there's so much just random guessing in mental health care. There's so much trial and error. And it turns out that most patients go through this trial and error process. 70% of the time, care fails on the first try. And so I thought, wow, it's just so random. And I wish that there was a way for us to much more precisely pinpoint what would work for someone from the start. And so, as I mentioned, I had a habit of reading through papers coming out of Yale Psychiatry, and I came across Adams. And I was specifically interested in mental health care because of my best friend's experience and my own. And I wanted to do something that was truly innovative. There were so many different solutions out there that were improving access to care, but they weren't innovating on the care itself. So there were so many solutions that were making therapy much more accessible, or creating text-based therapy, or making it really easy to schedule with a provider online. But no one was really addressing what happens once you're in front of a provider. And so I came across Adam's research, and I reached out to him, and the stars aligned, and we started the company. And your second question, can you explain more on your solution? We started the company with the foundation of Adam's research and that IP. We got the exclusive license on the IP out of Yale and started building the company. And from day one, our macro strategy was, help patients collect their data and learn as much as possible from their data to help future patients. And so that led us to create an end-to-end solution that gave us a lot of control over the data that we collect on each patient end-to-end. And our vision and our mission is to use that data to become much more precise about what care will work for someone in the future. And so that's what we sell into employers today.
I think it's definitely worth noting. You're talking about pinpointing the exact problem and working with it. And you mentioned on your website, reducing the recovery time and the recovery cost. I think that's probably talking about the data and the pinpoint, but I mean, how do you look at, how does Spring Health kind of reduce that time and cost?
Yeah, so in a few ways. So for employers, they often want to do right by their employees, and they purchase Spring Health because they care about their employees and they want them to stay engaged. They want them to thrive. They want to take care of their own, and they know that burnout is real, and just they're looking for something to help with that. But also they're looking at Spring Health as a financial investment, right? So we can help employers quantify just how many lost productivity days that are attributed to mental health issues today in their organization through our platform. We can quantify that value, and then over time, we can show how we've impacted that number, and we can show how many days we have recovered for the employer in productivity among their employees. And so they're looking for productivity gains because people with mental health issues are likely to call in sick, and there's very high absenteeism and even presenteeism among people with mental health issues. But also we can help employers save on hard costs. So someone with a behavioral health issue, especially if the employer is self-insured, which means if the employer bears the financial risk of the healthcare of their employees and pay for the healthcare of their employees instead of paying a premium to an insurance company like Aetna or Optum, if they bear the financial risk of the healthcare of their employees, then they pay for all of the healthcare of their employees. And someone with a behavioral health issue is much more expensive than someone without. And so by helping address these mental health issues that the employees are dealing with, we can start to curb the overall healthcare spend per employee. So there are hard healthcare savings to be had from Spring Health.
Yeah, it's great. It's amazing stuff. I like that. As we wrap up, I always ask the same kind of question for final question, which is kind of words to live by, your personal mantra or ethos that you could share with the community, hopefully help them out too.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I love the quote, live life as though it's rigged in your favor. And I think, as an entrepreneur, there are so many ups and downs, and there are, even just generally in life, there are so many things that go wrong and things that, don't go as planned, and you beat yourself up for it, and you struggle for some time. But when I look back at my life and think about those moments where I struggled or where things didn't go my way, I realized that something incredible happened because of that bad thing. And so I do think that life is rigged in my favor. I think that even the bad things happen for a reason.
I like that. That's a great way to leave off. Super positive. I appreciate your time. Thanks for the help, Mike. Thank you, Nadal, behind the scenes, running the show. And where can everybody find a little bit more information on Spring Health? We'll put it in the bio and in the copy of the show. There you go. Look at that. Nadal's on top of it.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks, April. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Charlie. Bye. Take care.